All right, so in this module, we're going to talk about your true power, unlocking your ability to manifest. It is absolutely vital that you understand that when you start to do these things, when you start to take these steps to call your power back in through some of the methods that we talked about there, and I'm going to download some more information for you in this course so you can take with you and start to use these techniques to call back your power. But what do you do once you've called that power back? Say you've gotten that 14% and you've expanded it to 30. What do you start to do with that power? You want to put it to good use, because otherwise, some of those old habits, those subroutines will start to creep back in, right? If we start to use them, that muscle doesn't become atrophied, it starts to grow. And then this power starts to have this cycling effect where it starts to snowball. And then eventually you're sitting there, you go, oh, 30%, now I got 50%. You can grow that power however much you want. It's all about your willingness to accept that the true power you have is somewhat limitless, somewhat truly limitless. So let's talk about how beliefs are formed. This is a great way to understand how we can change our life, manifest our best life through the power that we've accrued. Okay, so it says here, our thoughts and emotions reinforce our beliefs, and they do that through a very simple system. As you can see, we go from thoughts. We have a thought, right, about something, right? It'll come into our head, it'll pop into our head. It may even be in response to an event, right? We have a thought about that. Okay, that thing that happened, right, that was good or bad, right? And that's like our snap judgment right there. The ego goes, yep, good or bad, labels it, right? That produces an emotional response, right? Our body goes, okay, if that was good, I feel joy, I feel happiness, I feel contentment, fulfillment, whatever. If it's bad, we start to feel yucky, we start to feel sad, we start to feel depressed, anxious, angry, any one of these labeled negative emotions, right? Both of those are equally powerful in creating a belief, right? So you do this thing, you have this thought, you have this emotion, the belief gets formed in your subconscious that this event was good or bad. That belief then goes on to formulate more thoughts to reinforce it. It's this reinforcing cycle. And you can see here, this is how the beliefs are formed in the first place, the ones that we want to take back, the limiting beliefs. Having a knowledge of how this process occurs on a subconscious level does allow us to get in between the process consciously and start to shift some of that energy and start to remap our thoughts. In fact, neuroplasticity is very well known, very well proven, that if we can get in between that process and try to change that thought, we have the elasticity to change that neural pathway to integrate a new belief, a new way of acting, a new way of behaving, right? Our beliefs are formed through this cycle of reinforcement, and then the thoughts occur, right? They elicit another emotional response, and they get stronger. Each time we do this through, like, say, an affirmation or hypnosis or NLP, there's a number of different ways that we can reinforce these neural pathways once we've taken that power back from the limiting belief. Then we'd reinforce it time and time again. It becomes stronger and stronger until that action is something that's running in that subconscious programming, right? And it's something that's doing things for us immediately instead of us having to think about it. It becomes easier and easier, okay? What's important to know here is that we think and perceive the world through the filter of our beliefs. We never really see the world as it is because it's very difficult for us, the way that we are, the way that we're built, to think outside of what our beliefs are. It's how we perceive the world that dictates exactly how the world is going to respond to us. It's our perception that creates our experience. So, what's step number one? We need to master our thought. Our thoughts are the primary movers of our energy, of our power, and gaining mastery over negative self-thought in particular and our negative beliefs gives us a reboot of our habitual nature, of our programming, and how we create these limiting beliefs and the false narrative, right? Learning how to manage those thoughts, though, not so easy, and especially approaching them without judgment. That can be very difficult. And there are many ways that you can do that by identifying them and just flipping it on its head, right? So you have a negative thought. How can you turn that thought positive? Just flip it. What's the polarity of that thought? Oh, this thing is in my way, it's stopping my progress. Perhaps we flip that and we say, this is giving me a pause to rest so that I can be fully ready to integrate the experience when it does happen. You see, those obstacles, they don't have to be something in our way. In fact, sometimes they're something in our favor. When we do this, we start to call back energy, we start to call back power, and we start to gain control, in some modicum, of our experience and our perception. In fact, we start to take it off autopilot, and then we start to be able to create. Number 2 is removing the judgment of our emotions. Our emotions are not to be avoided. I know I've talked about this in a previous module, but no matter what our society has taught us, particularly here in the West, our emotions are our teachers, and they let us know when our thoughts or our judgments are out of alignment with our core values, with who we want to be or how we want to show up in the world. When we refuse to allow them that space, though, we turn them into something worse, right? We allow them to get perverted, we trap them, we put them in the body, and they become toxic. And that can create all kinds of issues for us, whether it's just on a mental or emotional level, not being able to relate to our social circles, or even worse, in some cases, physical toxicity that can create physical issues for us. Learning to sit with our emotions and allowing them to show us our truth is the hallmark of presence. It is the ability to be equanimous with the storm around us, to sit in the eye of the storm and not be affected by it, to not be driven by this emotive behavior, but instead aware and present with it so that we can learn and grow. And step 3 is really simple, taking aligned action. And that goes back to what we talked about with core values, identifying who that core you is, identifying the narrative you want to live by. Once you've figured that out, then it becomes easier. Once we've mastered our thoughts, we've mastered our emotions, and we're taking the time to meditate and bring that power back into our own being. Now it's easier to take aligned action because you go, okay, here's this action, here's this event, I'm present with the event, I'm not judging it, I'm not going snap, I'm not going into autopilot. How do I take aligned action? Is this action I'm about to take aligned with my core values? And then it becomes very simple. It's a yes or no. It's not the snap judgment of good or bad. It's, is this good for my alignment, or is it not? Is this something that's going to take me out, or is this something that's going to put me back into that flow? When we act from this position, suffering just can't take root within us because we're free of the entanglement of the attachment to outcomes, right? The alignment that I'm talking about is not like an end goal, right? It's not this picture of ourselves that we hope to build up to one day. It's a fluid idea. It's this idea of flux and this idea of being able to be with the change and still remain the same. It's not a static thing, right? It's not something that we build, we create, and it lasts forever. It's something that is flexible. And so it's just like our spine even. Just like our spine. It flexes with whatever movement we need it to do for us. And our alignment is no different. This way we can really enjoy it. We can enjoy life. We can enjoy the twists and the turns and go, ah, all right, that was pretty cool. I really enjoyed that. It was difficult. It was a challenge. It really brought the best out of me. Instead of looking at it, well, that just really screwed up my day. That is one of the hallmarks of presence as well. So the process again, step 1, through meditation, we can view our thoughts from a place of non-judgment, fully accepting these events, fully being present with the experience. When they arrive, we're able to stay rooted in the present instead of identifying with past trauma or worrying about making a mistake. Step 2, from our position in that present moment, we're free of past judgments. We're with our emotions, and we can allow them to express themselves in a healthy way, in a way that's enjoyable, right? And step 3, we're free of our embodied trauma that we have held on to for years and years and years. We've called back our power, and now we have motivation to take aligned action to begin to create this life that we've always wanted.